Good morning and welcome to day 9, the final day of the Expanded States of Consciousness World Summit. Thank you so much for being part of this journey. Thank you so much for joining us for these guided meditation and breathwork sessions. Today, we're going to do another live Q&A session, my colleague Michael Stone and I, so that'll be coming up following the guided meditation and the breathwork. And today is another exciting day on the summit. We're going to be exploring alternative pathways for accessing and integrating expanded states of consciousness, including visionary art, vocalization, the technology and science of composing music that accompanies psychedelic-assisted psychotherapy, psychedelic sessions, even ecstatic dance sessions. We're going to be exploring hypnotherapy and I know I'm missing a couple of things, but all the different sort of a chant, traditional chant and kirtan practice. So as well as bioenergetics and energy medicine and so forth. So and quantum healing, all these kind of things. So we're going to be exploring all these extraordinary, what you might just, I don't know if they're really alternative, but some of the pathways we have not yet covered on the summit for accessing and integrating expanded states of consciousness. So that's coming today. It's available right now, but please focus now on the meditation and breath work, and then we're going to do the live Q&A, and you'll have all day today to enjoy these sessions as well as all day tomorrow, and you still have access to all the powerful sessions on integration practices from day 8. Okay? So we'll go ahead and do the meditation practice. And as always, if we could begin by establishing a posture that for you feels relatively uplifted, upright, awake, and at the same time, relaxed, stable. And as always, if for any reason of physical limitations, you need to do this lying down, standing up, or leaning against the back of a chair for support, please do what works for you. And if you are able to sit up with a relatively uplifted posture on a chair or cushion, that can be helpful. Not absolutely necessary, but it can be helpful. Slightly concave quality in the lower back, so we're elongating the spine, extending the crown of the head up toward the ceiling or the sky a bit, and then just relaxing around that. Maybe sort of moving side to side, back to front, find that center line place where our vertebrae kind of line up naturally, stack one on the other end. It's a little easier to sit with an upright posture. Maybe tucking the chin just so ever so slightly. Shifting the head back just a millimeter or so, but it's really sitting squarely over the spine and the shoulders. Allowing the lips to be slightly parted as if you're about to say, ah. That way the breath will flow freely through the nose and mouth. Resting your tongue on the upper palate, the roof of the mouth, just behind the upper front teeth. That will reduce salivation. And it'll mean you're breathing primarily through the nose, unless your sinuses are blocked for some reason. And this is one particular setup for practice. There are many different approaches to meditation. They all have different impacts and different logics. And I really encourage all of us to really become students of the art of meditation. But at any one given time, it's good to just do one technique. And so this is the approach I'm suggesting for this practice to begin with. And if you're joining us today for the first time, you can jump right in, don't worry. And this is the 9th day of these guided meditation practices. So there has been a progression. And I call this approach to mindfulness and awareness meditation neuro-somatic mindfulness. It's a deeply embodied, neuroscientifically informed, and trauma-informed approach to classic mindfulness awareness meditation and to direct awakening. And it's grounded in accessing deep states of attention stabilization, and through that, profound states of awareness, and ultimately dropping into pure presence and pure being through the portal of the body and somatic awareness. We can take any sensation or perception, sense perception, as the object of meditation. We can work with sight, sound, smell, taste. We can work with thoughts as the object of meditation. We can work with emotions. We can really work with anything in our experience. However, the body is the most tangible and really the most accessible. And actually, it requires quite a lot of attention stabilization already to work with other sense perceptions as the object of practice for meditation. So for me, the body is the most accessible portal. And the deeper we go into the body, we're moving from sort of very tangible, gross physical sensation to more subtler sensation, to energy, the subtle body, subtle mind, into pure being, into source, whatever, however we might want to think of that. And of course, that's all on a spectrum. Body and mind are not really separate, although we can sort of, we have a sense of, the physicality of the body and the mind being not so physical, but really it's all one unity ultimately. But we're moving from the gross to the subtle. So the body is a beautiful entry point. And also, the body really serves the practice because by developing a deeply felt presence of the physicality of the body, this anchors us in the present moment. It anchors us in nowness, makes it a little more difficult for the mind to wander, easier for it to come back. So as I'm kind of giving the framework for the practice, you could just begin connecting with your body, just feeling the body. I'd invite you to close your eyes for this practice to begin with, because it'll make it a little easier to connect with the internal landscape of the body, which is very important to this approach to practice. So really dropping into the body and feeling into the body as deeply as we can. So another way to understand how working with the body anchors us in nowness is that we're facilitating neurophysiologically, we're facilitating a shift from an overactive default mode network, which is the part of our brain that is very discursive, likes to ruminate about the past, fantasize, contemplate, worry about the future, running commentary about the present. It's that noisy chatterbox part of our brain that makes it difficult to focus or concentrate. Now, it has its purpose, but in we modern human beings, it tends to be very overactive, and it's really the source of all of our stress and so forth. So when we focus our attention, when we synchronize body and mind together, that activates something called the task positive network, sometimes called the executive network. And at least to a degree, anytime we're talking neuroscience, there's a danger of oversimplifying a bit. The brain is a very complex, holistic, interdependent, incredibly complex organism. But nonetheless, there's validity to this, that the task positive network and the default mode network are to a degree mutually inhibitory. So to the extent that we bring online the task positive network, the default mode network starts to go offline. So when we focus, when we synchronize body and mind, we'll notice the mind starts to quiet down. Now, we've all had the experience of, really focusing on something like, let's say we were trying to thread a needle. At least for a moment, our mind gets really quiet. Now, we may not be able to sustain that, but at least for a moment, the mind gets really quiet. And that's that shift from the default mode network to the task positive network. Okay, so that helps us understand what's going on neurobiologically. And that's quite important because we can feel that. Our body mind is going to feel that shift, and it's going to learn to do it on its own. So another important framework here, just to kind of review what neurosomatic mindfulness is all about, is we begin, like with any meditation technique, with some form of self-directed self-regulation. So the mind wanders, we bring it back. The mind wanders, we bring it back. That's self-directed self-regulation or attention switching. And so with intentionality, we work with feeling the body, feeling the breath. Right? So there's a quality of intentional self-directed self-regulation there. And because we're present, our body-mind is receiving a lot of data. And as we make subtle shifts in posture or technique, the data shows up differently. And the brain is remembering all that. It's learning. Our brain is a learning machine. Our brain is a learning machine. And so over time, our body, heart, mind system is learning to auto-regulate itself into deep attention stabilization and profound states of awareness. So what we're doing with this practice is we're creating an internal neural biofeedback loop. You may be familiar with biofeedback, where you can observe a heart monitor and learn to regulate your own heartbeat up and down, or neurofeedback, where you're observing some external reference point of your brain waves, because it's a machine that's attached to sensors on your brain. And just by having that visual reference point, there's the feedback loop, and you can learn to regulate your own brain waves. So this is a complete internal organic neural biofeedback loop. And this is all based on current neuroscience and been validated again and again, that our body, mind, heart system is learning to auto-regulate itself into deep attention stabilization, which then is the portal into profound states of awareness, presence, and being. The more we drop into the very depth of our being, underneath all the noise, underneath all the conditioning, deeper than any sense of a separate or individual self, just into the very depth of being, there, not only is that the source of profound healing, not only is it incredibly nurturing, not only does it deepen our resilience, but the experience of that then begins to rewire our brain, the great neural change. The brain is learning and being impacted by that state and begins to reorganize itself around having greater access to that depth of being, remembering how to get back there, and also living our lives more in contact with that or from that, which is going to allow us to spend a much greater amount of our time in a relational, receptive, open mode with our social engagement systems online, as opposed to living our life from that fear and survival place where we've all been conditioned to live our lives from, even genetically. Just the job one for any species is survival, right? So just giving you a frame of what's going on here. And then the last one And I bet you to just keep dropping into the body, feeling whatever you can feel, going as deeply as you can into the body. The last one is that when we begin any practice, any kind of awareness practice, mindfulness practice, awareness practice, we're stepping out of the stream of sensate experience in which generally we're just kind of lost without a lot of awareness. We're just in it. We always have some awareness, some mind. We couldn't function in life without some mindfulness, some awareness. But in general, we're kind of just in a stream of sensate experience without a lot of awareness. It's similar to that idea, are fish aware of the water, right? Because water is so ubiquitous to their experience. In the same way, our human condition is that we're just in this stream of sensate experience without a lot of awareness and living in a pretty habituated, reactive, conditioned way. When we begin to practice various forms of mindfulness and awareness, it's like stepping out of the river, climbing up to the bank, sitting on the bank, and now observing that river, observing the flow of the river. We can observe the hydrodynamics, the eddies, the whirlpools, the current, maybe different things floating by on the river. And so we're witnessing, observing, or watching the river. So sometimes we call this the witness consciousness or the watcher. And this is an incredibly important development. It's the beginning of our freedom. From that place, we can actually choose consciously how to respond to what's arising in our life. And over time, as our attention stabilizes through this deeply embodied approach to practice, as our awareness deepens, we can relax and let go of that separate sense of a watcher or witness and relax into direct experience, direct feeling. So, for example, the breath, we could be watching the breath flow in and out. We're feeling it. We know when it's going in, we know when it's going out, but there's a sense of an observer there. There's a subject-object duality, a sense of an observer. I'm feeling the breath, I'm watching the breath. And over time, we could let go of that and just feel the breath directly without the need for a feeler, without the subject. And then we could relax further into just being the breath, being the breath, being the body. So that's the other trajectory that we're on. So we're on this trajectory from self-directed self-regulation to auto-regulation into deeply embodied awareness, pure being, pure presence, that the body itself is learning, the brain in the body, our whole mind, our whole system is learning to auto-regulate into and stabilize and rest in without effort, eventually effortless embodied awareness. We're also moving from a lack of awareness to that kind of witness consciousness awareness to non-dual direct experience, just pure being, no separation whatsoever. So that gives you an overall frame of kind of what we're working with. Okay? So inviting us to just keep dropping into the body. Most of us live our lives pretty much up in the head. We're very auditorially and visually oriented, and we have that overactive default mode network, the chatterbox between our ears. So invite it, just let everything drop down the neck, through the neck, shoulders, upper body, down to the torso, to the waist, to the hips and buttocks, down to the legs, all the way down to the soles of the feet. And really drop into the body. Gathering all the dispersed strands of our attention, just bringing them home to the body. It's really a quality of coming home to the body. And the more we drop into the body, reclaim the body, come home to the body, we're also connecting with our emotional body, which is part of our body. So we're connecting with the heart, and we're connecting with the earth, because we are earthlings. We're made of the earth. We're made of the very same elements of the earth. All our food comes from the earth. We are creatures who can walk about on the earth, but we're still earthlings. So dropping into the body really connects us with earth, connects us with the entire natural world. even really ultimately will connect us with source and the entire cosmological reality, the energetic matrix that we're always part of, but we imagine ourselves to be separate from. So dropping further and further into the body. And this week we've been working with awareness of sensation on the surface of the skin, throughout the body from head to toe, feeling ourselves enveloped or ensheathed in a womb-like structure of exquisite sensate experience. That boundary between our body and the space surrounding us, which is not empty, it's tangible, energetic, made of gases and so forth, and we can feel ourselves held by that space and regard the space as benevolent, really holding us. So we can really feel ourselves embraced by the space, like a child embraced by their parent, and relax further into that. And then with curiosity, openness, non-judgment, and so forth, we can awaken our capacity for interoceptive awareness. Interoception being short for internal perception. The body's capacity to feel itself from the inside out, based on the fact that our entire body is a living organism, all the way down to the bones and including the bones. So just feeling into the body as deeply as you can with curiosity, almost a passionate curiosity to know ourselves as deeply as we can. So the purpose of this practice, we're sort of withdrawing the senses into the body and dropping in as deeply as we can. Dropping in as deeply as we can, feeling everything we can feel, the overall weight and mass of the muscles and bones, all the sensations related to the flow of the breath in and out, contraction and relaxation of the muscles involved with the breath, the diaphragm, abdominal muscles, intercostal muscles, the heartbeat, any discomfort that we're experiencing. Remembering that all sensate experience, all sense perceptions arise across the spectrum from pleasant to neutral to unpleasant. And we're pretty hardwired with pleasant experiences to go immediately into the mind state of attraction, which can move into grasping and greed and addiction. And with unpleasant or uncomfortable experiences, the mind state of aversion, pushing away, even aggression arises. So we can just be aware of all that and try to relax and just embrace the totality of our experience. We could actually make the conscious decision that rather living my life like all unconscious beings, or relatively unconscious beings, addicted to comfort and pleasure and living in fear or even terror of discomfort and pain, rather than living in that mechanical habitual way, I'm going to awaken and I'm going to embrace the totality of my experience, which includes pleasant, neutral, unpleasant, comfortable, not so comfortable, pleasure and pain and everything in between. I'm just going to embrace all of that, part of having a body. And in doing so, I reclaim my dignity as a conscious human being. I'm not going to live in fear. And it's not that I'm choosing discomfort or pain. It's just part of our experience. So when it's there, I'm willing to feel it. Dropping ever more deeply into the body, ever more deeply into the body. I'm going to invite us to do a series of brief body scans. We're going to scan up from the soles of the feet all the way to the crown of the head. And we won't do the arms separately like we do in a longer body scan. So as your awareness moves up through the body, when it reaches the level of your hands and arms, just include them. And we're going to do these. I'll count us through the first one, and then we'll continue. We'll do 7. And I invite you to just be aware of when a quality of flow, palpable flow shows up for you, if it does, which is we're tapping into the internal resonance and coherence of all the vibrational systems and waveforms within the body, the brain waves, the heartbeat, all the organs and glands, they all, even the cells themselves, have their own vibrational rates. And all this begins to cohere, and we can feel it as a palpable coherence and flow. So just being open to and curious about that, okay? You can, if you're in a chair and you have a back to the chair, you could lean back if you want for this. So getting your attention down to the soles of your feet, wiggling your toes maybe. And as we scan up, we're experiencing the external and internal sensations. And you can imagine your body being empty and it's filling up with liquid. And that liquid is presence and awareness. You can feel your awareness moving through the body as increased blood circulation, warmth, presence, awareness. You can really feel it moving through the body and just feeling whatever is there, okay? So we'll scan up from the soles of our feet all the way to the crown of our feet at this pace with a count to 10. Okay, beginning to scan up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to the crown of the head, and then flowing back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, like that, down to the soles of our feet. And when we're scanning up and we reach kind of the waist and we're coming up to the tailbone, then you can really sense that your awareness is flowing up through the body, but in particular, it's flowing up this channel that through the spine and all the way to the crown of the head. There's actually an energetic channel there, and we're flowing up there and then we flow back down, okay? All right, so let's do 7 of these on our own at about that pace. And when I finish 7, I'll let you know, and we'll do one more together, okay? Okay, go ahead and begin. Okay, we'll do one more together. Standing up from the soles of the feet on the in-breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all the way to the crown of the head. Scanning back down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And letting your breath return to normal. And just feeling and appreciating any quality of flow, embodiment, presence that you've tapped into. And if you didn't feel anything significantly rising in that way, don't worry about that, but I encourage you to practice this. You can do this lying down when you wake up in the morning, lie down in your bed, do this. And pretty soon you'll find, like maybe you do 5 or 6, and suddenly there's this, it's almost like flipping on the light switch and you tap into this beautiful flow, this coherence, this beingness. So to the extent that you're resting in something like that, or whatever your sense of just being in your body is, just stay with that. Just stay with feeling the body as deeply as we can, all the way down to the bones. Over the course of this week, we work with the skeletal structure, we work with the connective tissue and the musculature, we worked with sensing into the vital organs, we worked with the biome, the gut, we work with the entire body. And we can really just feel into, it's a limitless universe to explore, limitless universe of somatic awareness. And our attention can become ever more refined. Our awareness can become ever more subtle and refined. And we're eventually really dropping into pure, pure being, ultimate source. And one of the reasons this is profoundly healing, that flow we tap into is just profoundly healing and nurturing. And we're also getting in touch with a depth of our being that has never been damaged. Even though we may have experienced all kinds of traumas and things, there's a depth of our being that's untouched by any of that. And that doesn't not making light of our suffering or the trauma we may have experienced in life, but dropping into the depth of that being that has remained always untouched gives us the template for profound healing, and begins to the extent that we're in touch with that, it naturally begins to sort of reorganize our neural networks for healing. So it's profoundly healing. And of course, there's many modalities of healing, lots of things we can do, and therapeutic things and things in community, and it's all good. And having access to the very depth of our being is profoundly healing. And to the extent that we maintain even a little contact with that, it really shifts our orientation in life altogether. Instead of living our life from a place of separateness and fear and, I got to get mine and, I'm threatened by this and, living from that fear and survival place, we begin to live from a place of profound ease, profound okayness. And we still need to do what we need to do to take care of ourselves in life, but we do it with from a different way of being, a different frame of mind, a different heart space, a different mind space. So just appreciating this quality of deep presence, deep embodiment. And I invite you to just gently open your eyes and let your awareness expand out into the space where you are, just including everything in your field of vision, including all the other sense perceptions, sound, taste, smell, whatever thoughts may be coming and going, any emotional tone, mood, emotion, just the whole thing, and let your awareness just fill up with all of this and just feel a sense of profound presence, connectedness. And you could have a simple inquiry. Here we are in this profound state of awareness, aliveness, and there's everything that makes up our experience, all the sense perceptions, thoughts, emotions, and the awareness of that, and then the awareness that we're aware, and that profound space in which all this is occurring. It's like clouds passing in the vast blue sky. And can we begin to shift our identity from, some narrative of the content of our experience to really beginning to be more like the sky, just being that vast blue sky or the vast deep ocean, and just allowing and being. So thank you very much for being part of this journey for these past 9 days. I'm going to invite Michael to come on now. If you would like to learn more about the neuro-somatic breathwork, there's a link here for you to do that. And you can also learn more about Michael's breathwork opportunities as well. There's a link for that. And I'll invite Michael on And Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Fleet. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm always looking forward to these breathwork sessions with you. I'm really thrilled. This is 9 days in a row. I'll be doing this with you. And, I've already done 2 breathwork sessions this morning. It's a big part of my morning routine and meditation. So, and now this is just delicious. I get to do another one and really go deep. So let's go for it. Thank you.
Okay, so yeah, thank you, Fleet. And so let's get started. And first of all, just a reminder that after the breathwork session, you'll be able to do a live Q&A with us in the Zoom room. And at this point, if you should see like next to where you're watching this video, it should say, click here to join the live Q&A. If you don't see that, you may have to refresh your browser, because the link was put in after the meeting started. So, and you can join at any time, and we'll be letting people in right after the breath work. So, okay. All right. So today, what I'm going to do is give you a taste of breath work. The normal sessions that I do in my platform are 1-hour breathing sessions in a 2-hour workshop structure. We do 24 live sessions every month, so we're doing them all the time, and in order so people can really set up a practice like a yoga. And but today we're going to be doing about a 7 or 8 minute session, like a taster, just to give you a sense of, just even after a few minutes of like focusing on the breath and being with yourself, how it can really change the way you feel in your body. So, and if you do want to at some point do like a full-on deep dive session, you can just go to our platform, breathworkonline.com, and everybody's first session is free. So if you, but again, for today, we're going to be doing about a 7.5 minute session. And so I'll just discuss for a few minutes what to expect and how to prepare. So the underlying principles of neurodynamic breathwork are, first of all, everybody has what I call an inner guiding intelligence. Other people call it higher self, or intuition, or innate intelligence, or inner healer. But it really doesn't matter what you call it. It's basically that's the same way that your body knows how to heal itself. You have this like body intelligence where if you have a cut, your body knows exactly what to do. If you get sick, your body knows exactly what to do. Your psyche has that same drive towards wholeness and integration. It's just that we're very disconnected to that in our everyday life because of first of all, our constant chit-chat mind, where we're almost never in the current moment. We're always judging, we're always comparing, we're analyzing, we're being in our past, we're projecting into the future. And so we live in generally a very disconnected state from the present moment. So to that amazing innate resource that we have that already has all the answers that we need. So today, through breath and music, we're going to quiet the ego mind and connect. So the 2 guiding principles are surrender and trust. Surrender, just be with whatever wants to happen, surrender to it, open up to your heart to whatever experience you have. It could be very, very gentle, so the music will be, have some energy to it, but gentler than in the whole hour set. We're in the middle of it. It gets very evocative. But you could have just a very gentle experience, or it might be more dramatic. You just never know with these things. Something's ready to pop. And the concept is that this will not be guided by me. I'm not going to be talking to you during the session. I'm not going to be telling you breathe deeper, do this or do that. This is all going to be guided by your own inner guiding intelligence. So it's going to bring up the experience that you're ready to have today. And in neurodynamic breathwork, every time you breathe, it's a completely different experience. So if you did this breathwork later today, it would be different. Something else would be ready to come up and be processed. So today, whatever happens, just let it happen, let it come up, no judgment, no expectation. Your mind may quiet down. It may not. This is a short session. And just being with what is and allowing it to process through whatever that is. And so that's kind of the surrender. And the trust is that if it's being brought up, it means that it's exactly what you need to experience in this moment. And B, you are 100% capable of handling it, or it wouldn't be brought up. You know, your inner healer protects you in that way. If it's not ready to come up, it won't come. Something else will come. It's like layers of an onion in breath work. And, you know, and many times, for instance, people have to have in the longer sessions sensory release experiences before they drop into emotions. You know, so there's a pathway. It's a journey. So just surrender, let go, focus on the breath, and just let whatever wants to happen happen. And the types of experiences that are available, like just the general categories, are first of all sensory experiences where you might get some type of body releases, and where you might get cold or hot, or you might feel some numbness in a part of your body, and then the feeling comes back as your body's releasing stuck bioenergy. Or you might get a tension in your body, like let's say you have something stuck in your shoulder, it gets tense and then it releases. So it's just kind of be prepared for your body doing things that it wouldn't normally do in everyday life. And it's all totally normal. The second type is sometimes people get visuals. And, you know, if they do get visuals, it can be like psychedelic, like fractals and colors, or sometimes people kind of go back into a childhood experience and kind of see it from a different perspective, where they see how, oh, I actually learned something from that. You know, even though they felt like it was holding them back before, they see from this kind of perspective 30 or 40 years later, they see it from in a different way. Sometimes people can feel like they're in past lives. Sometimes they have what we call transpersonal experiences, where they feel kind of dissolved into the universe or more self-love. So all of those things are available in breathwork, and sometimes you just have a very gentle experience where your body just feels more relaxed, and you're just kind of in a flowy state for 5 or 6 or 7 minutes. Then you come out and you feel more grounded. You know, especially in these very short taster sessions. So again, whatever wants to happen, let it happen. And you can do this either sitting up or laying down. Either way is totally fine. You want to keep your eyes closed during the entire breathing experience, and, you know, make sure no one's going to walk in on you and say, "Hey, hi, Joe, what are you doing?" in the middle of it. So you can just stay focused on your internal journey. And see what else do I want to say here. Okay, yeah, that's pretty much it. So, so the breathing technique. I'm going to give you the breathing technique that we use in neurodynamic breathwork, and this is not a technique that you're going to be using in your everyday life. In your everyday life, you do nose breathing. That, you know, it's you know, the air is filtered. In neurodynamic breathwork, there's a technique that's designed specifically to open you up to experiences and to move a lot of air at the beginning, so that you have certain physiological changes that happen in your body that support the quieting of the ego mind. As you move more air through your system, your blood gets a little more alkaline. There's changes in your body and in your brain that kind of allows or helps your mind quiet down. So what you want to do for the next, you know, when we get started for the 7 minutes of the session, or 8 minutes, is breathing in and out through the mouth and taking full deep breaths. And again, we're doing mouth breathing so we can move more air. And also, whenever you're in a release state in your life, whenever, like, for instance, if you're angry or if you're crying or whatever, your body automatically switches to mouth breathing. So it's kind of giving it a signal it's okay to let go. So breathing in and out through the mouth, full deep breaths. And for this exercise, just breathe at normal pace. In the actual hour long, you know, we ask people to start with breathing a little bit faster than normal. But for this, you know, we're just going for a bit of a gentle ride. So you want to full deep breaths, normal speed, and always breathing in or breathing out, just creating a wonderful circle of breath. And breathing in a way that's no tension, enjoyable. So it's not like, not like that. And it's not like, So it's, And keeping your body relaxed. And some people, it supports them making a little sound on the out breaths. You can do that too if that feels right. Just kind of feel into whether your body wants to do that or not. There's no right or wrong about it. And you want to listen to this in whatever way you get the best sound quality, because the music is a part of the experience. So if you have if you have an over-the-ear headset, perfect. That's ideal. If you don't, it's also totally fine for this little set to put earbuds in a phone or have external speakers on your computer, and just whatever way you get the best sound quality. And if you're on a computer now, if you can close down other windows that are open that you're not using, so just you get the maximum internet signal. When we do a music share in Zoom, it does use part of your bandwidth. So the less other stuff that's going on in your computer, the less likely it is you get distortion and that type of thing. If you're on a phone, make this the main window and close out your other apps. And just I'll just give you a moment now just to get ready, just to get comfortable, whether you're sitting or laying down. And again, this is an eyes closed experience. If you want to, you can use an eye mask if you have one available. You don't have to. Either way is fine. So, yeah, so just getting organized, making sure that, close your door so nobody walks in on you, and just get ready to go. And we'll get started in a minute. I'll just get the sound share set up here. And again, just a reminder, I am not going to give you guidance during this session. This is all guided from within. And part of that is in addition to whatever experience you get in the breathwork sessions, part of what happens if you do decide to do breathwork kind of more as a practice in this non-guided way, you can start to bring that into your life where you get better connection to your inner guidance. You strengthen that neural pathway and your psyche's understanding that it can look for the answers within. It doesn't need a facilitator to tell them how to breathe, to do this or to do that. In the same way that when you have an issue in your life, you can find the answer within. You don't need to give your power away to the outside world. So this non-directive breathwork can be very powerful in that way. Okay, so at this point, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath. Bringing your attention inside. Just watching the breath for a moment. I'm just doing a brief body scan, going through each body part one by one. And if you feel any tension there, releasing as much as you can in this moment. Just starting with the feet, relaxing the feet, maybe wiggling the toes around a little bit. And this is really just energetically releasing the tension into the universe. And bringing your attention to your calves, your upper legs and torso. Releasing tension. And your belly area. Your face, jaw muscles, forehead muscles, relaxing them. And giving your shoulders a little shrug, a little stretch. Releasing tension in your upper arms, lower arms, and hands. And then taking a deep breath, and on the out breath, letting out a little sigh and just visualizing any other tension releasing into the universe. And now bringing your attention to your chest, to your heart area. And noticing, is your heart completely open to whatever experience you might get in the next 7 or 8 minutes? Or does it feel just a little bit held back or reserved, closed down? If it feels closed down in any way, taking a moment connecting to yourself, and reassuring yourself that if something comes up today, it's totally ready to be processed, and it's something that no longer serves you. It wants to be released out of your system to make room for other things that will support you more in manifesting the life that you want. Just sending yourself love, sending yourself compassion. And now taking a moment to energetically connect to the other people that are breathing with you today. We have several hundred people from around the world also breathing with you in this moment. And anytime there's a group of breathers like this, there's always this energetic connection that's available to you. And so if you ever feel just a little bit stuck or like you're falling out of the process, you can reconnect to this energy of breathing and release. So just taking a moment and just visualize this circle of breathers around the world. Connecting to that energy. Now, deepening the breath, starting to take full deep breaths in and out of the mouth. Breathing fully and deeply, deeply and fully, fully and deeply. Just breathing at normal pace. And for a few people, like this mouth breathing, it just like your mouth and your throat get dry. If it bothers you, you can also breathe into the nose. But if you can, do the mouth breathing. Breathing fully and deeply, deeply and fully, fully and deeply. Just at normal pace. And now breathing in a way where there are no gaps, where you're always breathing in or breathing out. Just creating this wonderful circle of breath. No tension, a full, deep, and enjoyable breath. Just, again, just at normal pace, finding a rhythm that feels comfortable to you. You want to stay with this breath, and just at the last couple minutes when there's music, it's very, very soft. If it feels right, you might want to soften the breath. But for right now, full deep breaths. Always breathing in or breathing out, finding a nice rhythm. All your focus on the breath. And now, just surrendering to whatever wants to happen. If when the music starts, your body wants to sway or move a little bit, let that happen. Or if sounds want to come out, let that happen. And if none of that wants to happen, that's completely fine also. Just letting go of control. Breathing fully and deeply, deeply and fully, fully and deeply. And in a moment, the music will begin. Have a wonder-filled journey. Now just keeping your eyes closed for a few more moments. That feels right. Being with yourself, slowing down the breath to a normal rhythm if you haven't done so already. Breathing gently now, being in a place of stillness and presence. And now, if it feels right, putting both of your hands on your heart, feeling the breath going in and out of your lungs, being with yourself in a very tender, open, and accepting way. Sending yourself love, sending yourself compassion. And lastly, if it feels right, just giving yourself a little hug, crossing your arms over your chest and holding yourself in an embrace of love and compassion, even those pieces within you that you might normally reject. And when you're ready, taking one last deep breath, letting out a sigh in the out breath. When you're ready, opening your eyes. Just noticing, does your body feel a little bit different? Do you feel more present? More embodied? Right. Thank you all. And again, if we're going to do a Q&A in a moment. And so if you'd like to join us live, you can just click on join the live Q&A on your computer. And again, if you don't see it, you may have to refresh your browser, just a reminder, if you don't see the link. And I
Well,
will,
thank you.
Clete, I'll turn it back over to you here.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow, exquisite. Such a joy. Woo. Yeah, it's amazing. Our whole body, mind, brain, heart system is really designed to be able to experience, really profound states of, everything is part of our experience. To have a body, we're going to suffer in our lives, we're going to experience discomfort and pain, but we're also designed to really experience profound joy and bliss, and to get all our systems lined up and the cells doing their happy dance. And we have access to this, and it's so healing and nurturing, and can place us in such a place of gratitude from which to live our lives, and appreciation and aliveness. And so wonderful to have these simple tools to access these innate capacities that we have. So thank you so much for guiding us, Michael.
You're welcome.
Really
And
a joy.
This is something that people, just in your everyday life, if you just take a couple minutes out, close your eyes, take a few deep breaths, maybe even put some gentle music on in the background, it's like a system interrupt. It's just
Yeah.
like you're going through your day and all of a sudden, let's say there's a power failure for 5 seconds and it comes back. All of a sudden you're in a different space and you appreciate the light and you appreciate it. So just if, every hour, every 2 hours during the day, just take a step back, take a moment, close your eyes, take some deep breaths. And it really does, you can shift your consciousness very quickly.
Absolutely. Even one deep breath done with awareness is
Yeah.
very powerful. It's like pressing the reset button for our nervous system. And our breath is really our very best friend. And so, yeah, thank you so much, Michael. So we're going to open it up to the Q&A now. And you can ask questions about the breath work, about the neurosomatic mindfulness. You can ask questions about what you're experiencing on the summit, whatever you'd like to explore. And let me set up so I'm seeing everybody. Gallery, show, non-video participants. Okay. Yeah. So welcome, everyone, and invite you to turn your camera on if that's okay for you, so we can see. Eric, you may need to give people permission to turn their cameras on. And we'd love to see all your shining faces, and so we can really create a sense of community here together. And just like to welcome Ninja Dave, been here every day. Great to see you again, Ninja Dave. Deborah and Anya and Joanne, Carolina from Czech Republic, welcome. Casey, Ellen, Maha Almir, Jason and Jen. Jen's been here every day, I think, and Susie K, Michelle, Monica, Margaret, Lisa, KJ, Gina, Margaret. There's actually, I have to go to a second page today. Wow. And there's Tessa and Janine and Wendy and Stacy and William and Helen and wow. So yeah, so welcome everyone. It's so great to be with everyone and a great community in this way and to do this wonderful restorative work together. So please go ahead and start putting your questions in the chat, and somebody break the ice and start a question. Again, it can be about the breath work Michael just led. It can be about the neurosomatic mindfulness I led earlier. It can be about the summit, the content in the summit. It can really be about anything you'd like to talk about, unless you want to talk about the stock market. Michael and I don't know anything about the stock market, but maybe Michael does, I don't know. But anyway, anything about breath work and meditation and expanded states, and let's jump in and have a good dialogue together. So yeah, appreciate the positive comments there, and yeah. And again, you can go to Michael's site. I know he's made the links available. You can just do a free breathwork session. And also there's links to explore if you're interested. And there's a course that Michael's offering that's going to be live and going to start up May 1st, I think.
Yep. Yeah, in a few days.
Check that out. And we're offering it at a very, very discounted, reasonable rate through the summit. And I also have my neurosomatic mindfulness course, which you can jump on anytime. So those are both available. So somebody said, I'm curious about what kind of breathwork Fleet is using every day, every morning. Okay, well, I can share some of that. So I do a number of things. I really slow my breath down to begin with. And different days I do different things. But I really slow my breath down to begin with. And sometimes I do some breathing where it's sometimes it's called jaw breathing, where I'm breathing in through the nose and out through pursed lips and breathing out twice as long as the out breath. And I may start with 4 in, 4 out, and then 5 in, and I may eventually get into where I'm going 10 seconds in, 20 seconds out, 20 seconds in, 40 seconds out, really, really slowing down the breath. I sometimes do rapid breathing. I'll do a half bridge yoga posture in my bed that's good for strengthening the core, and do fire breathing for a period of time. And then I'll go back to sometimes alternating in my morning routine, especially at the end between a rapid breathing and then a very slow breathing, kind of sets me up in this ideal kind of alert, relaxed state. I also do some Wim Hof breathing, which you can explore through Wim Hof's website, but it's taking a really full in breath and a shorter out breath, and you do it a little bit rapidly, and it kind of switches the neurochemistry of the brain, and then you can let it go and relax into similar experiences like what Michael's guiding us to. So I really do a variety of things, and at the end, really, I move into what is part of my core meditation practice, is a way of eyes open meditation, where just really letting the breath get subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler. And although nose breathing is ideal for walking around regular breathing, really important reasons why it's good to be nose breathers. In this practice, the lips are parted and breathing in and out through the mouth. And I just let the breath get subtler and subtler, but the focus is dissolving into the space in front, dissolving and dissolving and dissolving. And there's a quality in which our subtle mind, both in terms of life force energy, what's called prana in Sanskrit, ki in Japanese, chi in Chinese, lung in Tibetan, the life force energy, as well as really subtle mind, what in the Tibetan tradition is called rigpa, or fundamental awareness, is it sort of rides on the breath. And the subtler the breath becomes, then at some point the breath dissolves and there's just that subtle mind. And so it's one of the ways to really drop into. So anyways, a whole variety of things I do with the breath each morning. It's not always the same. And I also use tapping as part of my morning routine. And I've developed a tapping practice over the last year, and I integrate various kinds of breath work with tapping. So I'm always kind of experimenting and synthesizing with all kinds of things, and really appreciate working with great teachers like Michael. So anyway, that's enough about me. Let's see what else. There's a question from Michael. These breathwork offerings all look exciting, and I'm curious how you express the difference between the class you are offering versus the subscription offering on your site. That's a good question.
Okay, yeah, so part of the reason that I developed neurodynamic breathwork in this way, so that people could really develop it like a practice, like a yoga, just to take the benefit level to a whole new level when you start to strengthen those neural pathways to your inner guidance. So on the platform, we offer 25 live facilitated sessions every month, and we have a subscription program where you get unlimited use. And there's also other offerings that we have that are included. And so that's something that you can come in and sign up for. And first, basically, if you just try out a free session, you'll then get an email explaining everything about the subscription, and also giving you some additional sessions for free, just to really check it out before you actually commit to spending the money for the subscription. And it's monthly. It's like I think $57 for everything, basically. The class is different in that it's over a 30-day period. So there's 30 days of free breath work. And in addition, I do Monday live sessions, 1-hour sessions every Monday, talking about how to get the most benefit from the session, how to, bring this back into your life, give you some practices to use. So it's kind of like a guidance over the whole month, taking you through the process where you can ask any questions that you might have. So, but if you don't feel you need that, you can just come and do a subscription, go at your own pace. So either way is fine, really. It's just kind of what feels right to you. If you do want some guidance from me over the month, you can sign up for the course, or you can just come onto the platform, try your free session. And if you resonate with it, again, the next step would be you'll be offered some more free sessions to really check it out. And then if you want to, you can subscribe or just do a session here or there.
Okay, thank you, Michael. And I'm going to answer a question from Ninja Dave in just a moment. But just to mention, Eric Ukelowicz, our wonderful partner and producer, put the links there for both the neurodynamic breathwork course and for the neuro-somatic mindfulness course there in the chat. And just to give you a little sense of the neuro-somatic mindfulness course, it's a really thorough introduction and guidance and deeply into the neuro-somatic mindfulness approach. It has links to all the neuroscience behind it there if you want to get wonky and want to explore all the neuroscience. I'm pretty much a nerd with that stuff. But there's all kinds of guided practices, and we're adding more guided practices to it all the time. So it's kind of a living course, more more content all the time because I do a guided practice every week, and so we add those to the course as they're done. I don't know how many are there now, but there's a lot. There's just an unlimited amount of guided practice there in the course. And then I do a live session for whoever's enrolled in the course. I do a live session once a month, and we do that together. So one question from Ninja Dave was, what's next? Well, today, let's stick with today to begin with. You know, today is all these alternative pathways, and I really want to. I mean, it's so amazing today. My friend Krishna Das, who's really the most renowned kirtan recording artist in the world, one of the most renowned, certainly the most renowned Western kirtan recording artists, and he was a student of Neem Karoli Das, and you know, close friend and colleague of Ram Das, and he's just a beloved kirtan singer and teacher and spiritual teacher. And so he's today exploring chant. I wanted to highlight Sue Morter. So Dr. Sue Morter, I was supposed to do the interview with her for the summit, but I was actually in Nepal and had to have emergency abdominal surgery on April 4th, and almost didn't make it. It was quite a wake-up call. I was in a deep retreat at a monastery in Parping, Nepal, and receiving teachings, doing deep practice, 10, 12 hours a day, receiving teachings, primarily focused on the reality of death and impermanence and the reality of enlightenment. And really, do we believe that we can really liberate in this lifetime? And then boom, on April 4th, I was in Kathmandu and had an emergency thing and had to have surgery. And I'm lucky I'm here. I had a real near brush with death coming when they took the breathing tube out. I was like right there twice. So anyway, I got my whole return was delayed. I was supposed to get back April 8th, and I got back April 16th, and the summit started the 18th, right? So here we are. Actually, the first morning session we did, I was just 2 days back and still pretty weak and suffering quite a bit. I'm doing much better now. But at any rate, I wasn't able to interview Sue Morter. And so my colleague Ron Siegel did the interview, and he's an amazing teacher and does a fabulous interview. But the reason I point that out is because I just interviewed Sue Morter yesterday for our next summit. And I was blown away. I was blown away. She is amazing and just covers the whole spectrum from kind of looking at things from quantum energy work and energy medicine and you know, bioenergetics and quantum energy to deep inner yogic science from the Vedic traditions, and then neurophysiology from what we know in Western science or neuroscience. And she just integrates all of that with such total clarity and has such profound presence. So that's the interview I did yesterday is for our next upcoming summit, the Rewiring Your Brain Summit, which will be June 20th through June 25th. So that's one of the things that's next. But right now, today, you can enjoy Sue Morter, and please check that out. She is really amazing, as are all the speakers on today's summit. Someone asked a question for you, Michael, about the music. Where's the music from you're using, and is it 432 hertz or 528 hertz? Before you answer that question, just so you know, we have on the summit today, we had David Starfire and Mendel Kalin, two of the premier composers that create music, especially for psychedelic assisted therapy sessions, as well as for psychedelic journeys and also ecstatic dance. I know more about David Starfire because I've met him and been in retreats with him. And, you know, he's also been a DJ and, you know, been a Burning Man and all that kind of stuff, right? But these are both amazing composers that really understand the science of creating music that facilitates expanded state experiences. So you can explore both those today on the summit. So Michael, there's that question. Where was your music from today? And I don't know what, you know, that question about what 432 or 528 hertz. That's somebody's a little nerdier than I am about music.
So the music, it's not like a specific wavelength or 432 or whatever. It's the music today was from an artist. His name is Byron Metcalf. And the actual tracks that were used were something called Encounter. And I'm just kind of reading this off. Second one is a Healing the Earth Journey. Third one was Earth Ohm Sacred Resonance. And all of his work can be found on Bandcamp. If you just go to bandcamp.com, put in Byron Metcalf, he has like, I don't know, like 40 albums. And all of his music is designed around this kind of these journeys, whether it's breathwork or shamanic journeys. And it's all amazing. And there's also a music site where there's a lot of music that's kind of like, in the longer sessions, there's different styles of music as you go through. Like there's a whole scientific trajectory. And the site is musicforbreathwork.com. So they have a bunch of CDs or a bunch of uploads that you can just kind of check out and explore for yourself some of the other types of music for breathwork. And also Fleet. The other thing is with Mendel, he actually doesn't compose the music himself, but he hires composers and they put together all these different kinds of sets for expanded state journeys. And so that, like, for instance, therapists can use them and access them to work with their clients during journeys and stuff like that. So he has a very good music background. He knows all the science behind how music works on the brain, and but he hires the composers to put together the music.
Oh, great. Thank you for that distinction. There's a question for me around, is neurosomatic mindfulness for beginners, and is there an advanced exploration for someone like me who has done lots of meditation already? So that's a great question. So actually, and this may sound, well, I don't know what it'll sound like, but I really believe that neurosomatic mindfulness is an ideal approach for beginners, intermediate practitioners, and advanced practitioners. And I'll say why. So I think a lot of us, when we begin a practice, we struggle for a long time because, we have the overactive default mode network like all modern humans, and it's just, it's difficult. And, so we find it difficult, or we find it boring, or we struggle with it. And, we get practice going for a little bit and then we forget about it. And then we try to come back on. For a lot of us, it can be that journey for years like that. And one of reasons is because I don't think we've received, in many cases, really effective instruction, or perhaps the most effective instruction for us. And a lot of us tend, even if we've received instruction otherwise to a degree, but a tendency is to practice from the neck up here. And we're getting distracted by thoughts, coming back, chasing thoughts, coming back, and it's kind of like that. And we're not making use of the body. And making use of the body just makes it so much easier, makes the whole thing so much easier. I mean, the interview I did with Sue Morter yesterday, I think she probably covered similar territory today with Ron Siegel, but if you see it in the Rewiring Your Brain Summit, I mean, she just made it so clear why the body is so important. At any rate, so I think for new practitioners, it'll make the practice much easier. You'll start experiencing positive results much more quickly, which is going to motivate you to want to do it. So I think the on-ramp into practice for beginners is really facilitated by this approach. Now, for intermediate practitioners who may feel like, they've got an established practice, but maybe it feels like it's plateaued a little bit, right? Maybe it feels like it's plateaued a little bit. Maybe it doesn't feel like it's kind of going anywhere to one degree or another. So, I believe that this approach can be a complete reset for our practice. And we get this feedback. I mean, we have, I don't know, Eric Yukelovich would ask the question, but we have many, many hundreds of people on the neurosomatic mindfulness course. And we get amazing feedback from beginning, intermediate, and very advanced practitioners. So I think for intermediate practitioners, it can really help jumpstart and take our practice to the next level. Now, for advanced practitioners, maybe practitioners who've been introduced to various forms of formless meditation, non-dual meditation, maybe in the Tibetan tradition with Mahamudra and Dzogchen, maybe in the Zen tradition with Shikantaza, maybe in more kind of modern secular traditions or Advaita traditions, or various forms of non-dual meditation, what have you, and you had a lot of experience, and yet you don't, it seems like awakening, or what we read about in the books of the great masters, still seems to be a bit elusive. I believe that the neurosomatic mindfulness approach is the most direct path into non-dual meditation and realization. And I don't just mean my neurosomatic mindfulness brand. I I think, I mean, I've been practicing and teaching and integrating all these things from all kinds of traditions for more than 50 years now. So I think it is really representational of broadly across many techniques and traditions of what's available. But nonetheless, there are other teachers teaching deeply embodied approaches to meditation practice. And so I believe these various very deeply embodied non-dual approaches to practice are the most direct pathway into direct awakening. And so again, that's why I would say I think the practice can be really helpful for anyone at any level of experience. And we get that same feedback. We get feedback from people at various levels of experience, including very long time advanced practitioners who experience a really profound shift when they start making use of this approach. So, but you would have your own experience. Check it out, and you'll have your own experience with it. Let's see. Let's see what else we got here. In
Hopefully,
the beginning of this.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Let me just answer this one, then jump in, Michael. So, in the beginning of the summit, you said that our brains will be changed or by the end of the summit. I feel transformed, full of energy to spread what I've learned, and thus being able to contribute to a positive change in the world. Thank you so much. Oh, wow. Wasn't it going, but wow, appreciate that. Yeah, I remember I interviewed Laura Boyd, an amazing neuroscientist, for one of our other summits. And she has a well-known TED Talk. And basically the theme of that TED Talk is that by the end of the TED Talk, you'll have a different brain. And it's actually true. Our brain is a learning machine. And, the more that we spend in transformational spaces and receive these kind of teachings and do these kind of practices, literally our brain is transforming itself in really positive ways. And I know none of us have the same brain that we began this summit with, and that's a good thing. I mean, it's our brain is continually evolving and deepening and developing a greater capacity for presence and beingness and compassion and altruism and so forth. And so thank you very much for that comment. So jump in, Michael. Did you have a question there you saw?
Yes. Jen asked, how do we make sure we're on your mailing list, Fleet, for all of the summits you do, like the one coming up in June?
Oh, yeah, great. So if you're in this summit, you're going to be on our mailing list, unless you unsubscribed. Or then some people, we get unsubscriptions so quickly sometimes. I think some people's email programs just automatically unsubscribe them because we see it happen faster than somebody could even do it, I think. So, unless you somehow unsubscribed, you're on a mailing list. But you can always go to heartmindinstitute.co, heartmindinstitute.co, and there'll be there'll be some kind of, either you'll see a place join the mailing list, or there'll be a pop-up which offers you some free gift, and you can join the mailing list that way. And also you can get on Michael's mailing list by going to his Breathwork online, and there's an opportunity to join your mailing list there, I assume, too, right, Michael?
Yes, and also just by being in the summit, you'll also be
You'll
on
be
my
on
mail
Michael's
list, and you'll be, and I'll be sending you information about a lot of the free stuff that we have, free breathwork sessions, and the other benefits that we have on our platform. So
let's see, what else have we got here? Really appreciate all the very positive, appreciative comments. Somebody said, I have a different body, not just a different brain. That's great. Fabulous. Can you explain what you mean by non-dual? Okay, great. So our kind of conditioned way of being, and there's nothing wrong with it. We have human bodies. We live in this relative reality. And what we know from all the great contemplative and spiritual traditions, that this relative reality is not all there is. It's not sort of the ultimate reality. That doesn't mean this is not real. There's kind of what we call, in different philosophical traditions, sometimes you talk about ultimate and relative. And one doesn't cancel the other out. They're part of a greater picture, like two sides of the same coin. But, the ultimate, in some ways is beyond just this relative world we're experiencing. But within this relative world, and having a human body, our conditioning is to experience life in this subject-object duality. We operate from a sense of a separate, individuated self, and the I, me, and I'm perceiving things and having the experience, and I'm constantly talking to myself about it and generally creating a lot of stress about it for the most part. And this is just our human condition. This is just the way it is. When we're infants, right, we're born into this life, and as we begin to have to separate from the mother, we begin the process of individuation. And actually, we're probably more aware at that time of the nature of reality, which is very groundless and very fluid. And, of the nature of what we're talking about, these expanded states of consciousness, very fluid, very groundless. And we don't have the neural circuitry or the structures to handle that when we're 2 months old, 6 months old, So we have to create a self-structure. We have to create a self-structure from which to orient ourselves to function and survive in life. And to the extent that our childhood is, benevolent, nurturing, and loving, we develop a really good self-structure, and we tend to be high-functioning adults. But that self-structure is still conditioned on some level fear-based, because it's meant to ward off that experience of the groundlessness and impermanence of life. Nothing wrong with it. This is the way it works, the human condition. Now, if our childhood was not quite so benevolent, had some gaps, much less neglect or abuse, then usually our self-structure has some kinks and wrinkles in it, and often that can create a lot of difficulties for us in life, as we know. And for most of us, it's been a mixed bag, right? But nonetheless, that self-structure is a conditional structure, and it's a narrative, and we identify with it, right? And so all the great spiritual traditions, contemplative traditions, shamanic traditions, are all about how do you gradually loosen our attachment to that self-structure, that self-identity. How do you either deconstruct it or transcend it or unify it with the greater consciousness, or expand ourselves in a sense so it becomes so vast that it's really Gaia consciousness and you can't think of that as an individual thing anymore. I mean, all the different traditions have different ways of gradually letting go of this sense of separate self-structure from which we perceive the world dualistically into just being. Now, if you watch my interview with Ken Wilber, he was referencing, I got to go back and look at it, because he was referencing some teacher that he remarked on who kind of gave this, and I think it's a similar one that I may have read years ago, that gave this little thing, and maybe we could all just try it for a moment. Just sit up for a moment and just kind of, come into the body and relax and be present a little bit. And I'm going to ask you to do something really quickly, just snap of a finger like that. And what I'm going to ask you to do, I'll explain it first, and then I'll ask us all to do it. It's just to suddenly imagine that instead of having this head on our shoulders from which we're continually orienting ourselves, here I am, there's everything out there, that just kind of disappears, and what it's replaced by is everything. It's just replaced by everything. So where we normally locate the self in our head is suddenly just our whole sensory experience, the whole universe. All right. So take a moment, have a breath, and just suddenly, on the count of 3, just let that dissolve and just replace your head with this sense of the whole universe, even just the physical universe. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. So I invite you to experiment with that. You may or may not have, you may have had whatever kind of experience, right? There's another one, and it may have been from the same person I read many years ago, but this other one is to suddenly imagine yourself, or visualize yourself, instead of this 3-dimensional, located here in my body, the self, and I'm oriented, and there's everything out there, to just suddenly imagine ourselves as almost like this 2-dimensional pane of glass. We're just this 2-dimensional kind of pane of glass. And we're just suddenly in a state of pure subjectivity or pure objectivity. Subject, object is just collapsing into one. And it's just we're this pane of glass in which the whole thing is just flowing. All right. So, feel yourself in the body, a regular normal consciousness. And on the count of 3, just try that. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So those are kind of just little things that can help you. I encourage a colleague of mine, Gempo Roshi, has the work Big Mind, Big Heart. And he spent the last 50 years integrating voice dialogue, a wonderful therapeutic model that involves all the different voices, similar to internal family systems with the parts in voice dialogue, they're called voices, and integrating that with Zen. And he and colleagues have been integrating Zen and voice dialogue for 50 years, and he developed this approach called Big Mind, Big Heart. And it's a way to move to integrate all the parts and shadow stuff, and then into what he calls big mind, which is the state of non-dual awareness, and then allowing that to be infused with unconditional love. And that's big heart. So big mind, big heart. So anyway, there's lots of different approaches. And if you circle back to the day on meditation, day 7, which you'd have to have lifetime access to do, but I think it's worth it. The teachers on that day were all talking about, in one way or another, these approaches to non-dual meditation. So anyway, I hope that answers your question. And there are, and I don't mean to be critical, but maybe this works for some people. There are some non-dual teachers out there that's more of a cognitive thing. They kind of have this rap. And, if you already have a practice, or maybe if you don't, that it can kind of, if you just listen to that kind of, it can trigger you into a bit of a non-dual experience. I don't know how much it stabilizes. For most of us, I think it takes a deeper approach and more practice. For example, I don't know if people have heard of Krishnamurti. I was reading his books when I was a teenager, and he has kind of a non-dual approach. And I used to just read his books, and suddenly I'd have a non-dual experience when he said something. But at least for me, there was a lot of work ahead before I could even begin to, it didn't change that much. But maybe for some people, they listen to one of those things and boom, and they're enlightened. Who knows what it takes for any of us? We all have different karma and different experiences. But there are a lot of wonderful approaches to non-dual meditation that do at least give us an on-ramp. They provide us with a practice that can allow us to gradually let go of that subject-object duality and just be in direct experience and pure being. So anyway, I don't know if it's a tricky subject in a way, but I hope that helps a little bit.
And we have a question from Annalise that I enjoy so much the state I'm in after ending the change breath. I love to stay in there for about 30 minutes. The relaxation is deepening more and more then. What is the difference if you don't take that long time after breathing? And in breath work, we always encourage people to do some integration work after the session. And for some people, it could be just being in your own space for 10, 15, 20 minutes and just kind of, staying in that kind of quiet space. And some people like to journal. Other people like to go out and spend time in nature and just sit and kind of absorb the healing energy of the earth. Other people like to draw. So it's really different for everybody. But you might feel like doing different things at different times. But it sounds like for you, one of the more powerful ways is just afterwards, just take some time out for yourself. And so you're not like just back into your everyday, where you're getting all this input from life, and being able to kind of maintain being in that space of quiet and stillness for a bit of time afterwards. And also, when Fleet interviewed me during the session, during the breathwork day, I did one of these little 5-minute sessions, 6-minute sessions. So if you do purchase a lifetime access, you can always go back to that interview, and every now and then when it feels right, pop into that interview and do a little 6-minute session, 6-7-minute session.
Great, thank you, Michael. And again, thank you for all the positive comments. And somebody said, "I like me without my head." And I really appreciate Stacy chimed in. Stacy watched the interview with Ken Wilber, who was continually referencing this headless approach, and she got the name. Thank you for Douglas Harding, and then the current caretaker of Douglas Harding's work is Richard Lang. So people could check out Douglas Harding, Richard Lang, those references, and this headless approach, which Stacy is a big fan of, and check out the Headless Way online, and consider inviting us to consider inviting Richard Lang to present at one of our few summits. We absolutely will. I'm gonna follow up on that and check out Richard Lang's work. And yeah, that Douglas Harding is the person who Ken Wilber was referencing. Yeah.
Fleet, I have a private question about what is the current price for buying lifetime access? What is it today?
Oh, I'm sorry. What? I missed that.
The price for buying the permanent
The lifetime
access.
access
Yeah.
is $197, which is 50% off the full price of $397. But not only do you get this summit, you get 3 other summits, each valued at $397. 3 years of the Global Resilience Summit with all kinds of amazing teachers, neuroscientists, meditation teachers, philosophers, system thinkers, I don't know how many, 15, 20 Native American elders, wisdom holders, or indigenous, not just from North America, but indigenous wisdom holders, incredible teachers like Tara Brock, and just really amazing content. So that's probably 120 presentations or 60 presentations here. So what is that? It's like 180 of incredibly timeless transformational teaching, and it's $197. So I think it's a pretty good deal. And let's see. So just a lot of more positive comments that we really appreciate.
Oh, Ninja Dave said, I took this summit as my vacation. $200 for 2 weeks of expanded consciousness is a no-brainer.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you again. Dave told us at the beginning. Ninja Dave told us that he decided to take his vacation during the summit, and you've just really dedicated the time to just really be with this. So I know that if Ninja Dave did an MRI before and after, I'm sure Ninja Dave I would see some interesting things happening in Ninja Dave's brain, because you've really been there. And thank you all so much I assume all of you who've been showing up for the daily meditations have also really been showing up for the summit to the best of your ability and with the time you have and your various responsibilities. So and Eric Yukelevich was just mentioning again that the 50% off offer on the expires at midnight tomorrow night. Yeah. So Eastern time. So let's talk about what's happening today on the summit. And just again to reference yesterday was about all kinds of practices for integrating expanded states of consciousness experiences. However we access that, whether we're accessing it through psychedelic-assisted therapy, shamanism, breath work, meditation, or all the other possibilities, plant medicine journeys, the importance of integration. Michael and I have been talking about that throughout the summit. Importance of preparation and self-knowledge, and really getting good teachers, mentors, really checking things out, and then good preparation prior to doing any kind of session experience, and then the importance of set and setting, and then the importance of employing various integration practices and tools. And so we had Dick Swartz, the founder of Internal Family Systems, who's just amazing. We had Ruth King, an amazing mindfulness teacher who really presents a beautiful kind of both mindfulness, contemplative, up-to-date, relevant, and kind of Kingian approach to deconstructing our racial conditioning and the fact that we're, as human societies, we're still impacted by racism, and many people are negatively affected by that, but it affects us all. Dawson Church, amazing teacher, he has a book called Bliss Brain, learning how to regulate into that bliss circuitry of the brain for healing and awakening, and he's one of the leading teachers of tapping. Christopher Gammer, one of the founders of Mindful Self-Compassion, along with Krista Neff, an amazing teacher, and Ron Siegel, one of our co-hosts for this summit, and just one of the leading lights of integrating mindfulness with psychotherapy, and now also psychedelic-assisted therapy. Alex Howard, just amazing contributor to the whole world of psychology and healing, and his online super conferences are amazing. The trauma super conference, the anxiety super conference. He has a reset conference coming up next month, all about resetting the nervous system. And then Heidi Denkers, a colleague of Michael's, who talks about integrating experiences through expressive arts and journaling and other things. So an amazing day yesterday. And then today, again, we're focused on these alternative pathways, for lack of a better term. And We have Marissa Peer. I don't know if people have heard of Marissa Peer. She's pretty famous. She's a clinical hypnotherapist, energy worker. She's just amazing. Alex and Allison Gray. Alex, they basically invented the genre of psychedelic art. If you've seen those kind of illuminated bioelectric visual, pictures of a human being, that's Alex Gray. But just the whole realm of visionary psychedelic art was almost initiated by them way back in the 60s and 70s, and they're still around creating incredible work, incredible art. Alex King Harris, an incredible vocalist who leads people through transformative vocal journeys, teaching us how to vocalize in ways that are profoundly healing. We have Chris Willard, who does work with youth and is talking about the importance of expanded states in child development. Now, of course, we're not talking about having children take LSD or anything like that. Absolutely not. Not even joking. Am I saying anything like that? But by expanded states, we mean anything other than a constricted state. So anything that helps us open into, a non-fear and survival-based framework or state into basic openness, tenderheartedness, mindfulness, awareness, self-compassion, compassion for others, empathy, empathic awareness, generosity, altruism, all these are expanded states. They may not seem like non-ordinary. They very much be like our ordinary waking consciousness, but they are expanded states. And the importance of these experiences in child development. And so the beauty of bringing mindfulness and social emotional learning into early childhood, K through 12 education, which is happening more and more. And so Chris Willard's work is about that. And he's talking about that. And then I mentioned before, we have the two of the sources of phenomenal music for accompanying psychedelic assisted psychotherapy, psychedelic journeys, and so forth, David Starfire and Mendel Kalin. And then I mentioned before, my friend and colleague Christian Das, a beloved spiritual teacher and Grammy-nominated recording artist, one of the most beloved vocalists and singers and of kirtan music, traditional Vedic kirtan, and then Sue Morter, who I mentioned before, who just blew me away in the interview I did with her yesterday, and I know Ron Siegel did a fabulous interview with her. So, Michael, you want to talk about the gestalt of today, and kind of what today's really all about? And, yeah.
For me, it's really about there's not a 3 or 4 pathways that you have to follow to get to these expanded states of consciousness. Some of them we're covering today, like hypnotherapy and other things. But for me, it's really about every person is different. And it's really about just kind of opening yourself up to all the different possibilities and then just seeing what you resonate with, seeing what works for you, and also that all of these pathways, it's not like, okay, you do this and that's all you should do. Don't do anything else. All of this stuff can be adjuncts to whatever is already working for you in your life, whether it's psychotherapy, whether it's, whatever things that you're doing for personal development in your life that you're doing. These can be great adjuncts to that and kind of take whatever you're doing to the next level. So today for me is really just kind of opening up the space to seeing, yes, there are many different pathways to these expanded states of consciousness, to these healing states, and to just kind of see really what resonates to you, what calls to you. And ultimately, it's all experiential. So you can chit chat about it forever, but if something does resonate with you, I just encourage you to, follow your inner guidance, as they say.
Thank you very much, Michael. And again, thank you for all the positive and appreciative comments and insights, and somebody referencing some of the wonderful speakers like Ruth King and grandmother Flor de Mayo and Thomas Hubel, Deepak Chopra, and so forth. Yeah, it's just been and continues to be an amazing journey. And someone asked me about my experience. I'll just be very transparent about it. It wasn't like a classic near-death experience where you actually die and you're gone for a while. I didn't go into that, so I wasn't the tunnel of light or in my own Tibetan Buddhist tradition, the moment of luminosity and all of that, the clear light experience. So I didn't cross over that threshold. What my experience was I was fully conscious. I was just suddenly aware and conscious, and I couldn't move my body. I couldn't breathe, and I couldn't speak, but I could see. And it was very clear to me. I wasn't really, there wasn't a lot of fear, but it was just very clear that, no, it's not time to go yet. Somebody do something. And what had happened, they had pulled the breathing tube out, but my breathing wasn't kicking in. And so all I can assume is, they recognized that and they put the tube back in. That happened once, and then at least I know this happened twice. So I'm assuming I got reintubated, and then when they tried to take it out the second time, I had the same experience, and this one was a little bit longer. I'm kind of like, okay, is somebody going to do something or something? And then suddenly I remember there was somebody over me, and they grabbed and I don't know whether they were opening my mouth to put a tube in, or whether they were just trying to get my breath going. But then the next thing I knew, then I was, I don't know if immediately or I got reintubated, but at some point I was conscious again. I was breathing, and the tube was out, and I was fine, and I was in the ICU. But so I had these two moments of being right there on the edge, but I didn't cross over into the threshold and wasn't actually clinically, dead for 10 minutes or something like some people have. So I didn't have that experience. And I guess it would be nice to have had that experience and live to tell about it and be here to tell about it. But I'm actually, who knows? You don't know whether you're going to come back from those kind of experiences or not. And if you don't, you don't. We're all going to die at some point. But I feel like I still have a little bit to do and offer in this life. So I was kind of happy that they did whatever they needed to do to bring me back. But I certainly had the experience of being, right there on the edge. I knew clearly I'm on the edge, that if somebody doesn't do something here, pretty soon it's going to slip over into, and I trust that I've practiced enough that if that had happened, who knows, but I have a fair amount of confidence that if that had happened, I do have the meditative experience to then relax into that and go with that. And but I wasn't quite at that point. So just to be very transparent about it. But it was definitely a wake-up call. Definitely a wake-up call that life is precious, and we need to really appreciate every moment of it and be really reflective about what we're doing with our lives. And so I'm really in a very open, curious space about what I'm being called to, what that was really about for me, and we'll see how that unfolds. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it. And again, so you have almost 48 hours access to today at this point. Actually, if you, depending on what time zone you're in, if you stay up overnight or something, they'll be available till 7 a.m. on Friday, day 11, right? Because you get 48 hours from 7 a.m. this morning to 7 a.m. So that's, and then you still have almost 24 hours access to day 8 presentations. And if you would like to invest in the lifetime access and have all of this for lifetime, as well, downloadable audios you can put on your phone, transcripts, all these meditation practices, guided breathwork sessions, all of this, plus 3 additional amazing summits. You can have all of that for only $197, and that will change, go up more towards full price at midnight tomorrow night. So that's how long you have to make that choice and invest. And if it works for you, right. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But if it does, I think it's really quite a bargain. It'll be a treasure trove for you of transformational teaching. And at the same time, you're also helping us reach hundreds of thousands of people around the world with these transformational summits, because it's those of you who invest in lifetime access, you're paying the bills. That's the only source of revenue for doing this. And you can imagine what it takes to put on a summit like this. I mean, we've been working on this with our whole team for more than a year, and it's a lot, and it's a joy for us. It is an absolute joy for us. And our primary goal is to reach as many people as possible with the most transformational teachings we can, and to make our small contribution to the global collective shift we really need at this point in our human journey. So that's what motivates us. And along the way, we like everybody else, we got to pay our bills and keep the whole thing going. And the better we do, the more people we can reach, the more we can offer. So that's what we're doing. That's what we're about. And we just really appreciate you being here. Just really fundamental bottom line is we're incredibly grateful that you decided to join us for this journey, and that especially those of you, we appreciate everybody who joined us for the summit, and really super appreciate all of you for showing up for these daily sessions with Michael and I. So thank you so much, and have a great day on the summit today and tomorrow. And Michael, any final word from you?
Just that I'm personally incredibly grateful for all of you that are here, for taking the time out of your lives to do this work for yourself, and also to your commitment towards really making the planet a better place. Because ultimately, this is one of the pathways that, you know, when you transform yourself, then it also impacts the people around you and around them. So it's this kind of wave that goes out into the world. So thank you for your presence. Thank you for your time. And thank you for your commitment.
Absolutely. And, you know, this is our last live session. It's our last guided practice session. So many thanks to all of you, to Annalise, to Ninja Dave, to Joanne, to Carolina, to Casey, Michael, Helen, to Kay Edwards, to Kim, to Ellen, to Teresa, Tracy, Mahal Mir, to our friend Eric, Michelle, to Margaret and Lisa, Joe, Donna, Carrie, Ingrid and Wendy and Helen, and got to go over to page 2 here and make sure I don't miss anybody. Jesse and Ziva and Lindsay and Wynn and Maybell and Monique and Lisa and Eve Smith and Donna and Carrie and Ingrid and Wendy. Joe, I think I'm getting everybody. Margaret, Michelle, I hope I didn't leave anybody out. Kim, Ellen, thank you all so much. Thank you all so much. And really be well. And I really hope that even if you got one thing, one teaching, one practice from this this summit journey, and you start incorporating that into your daily life, it has a huge potential for your own benefit and for our collective benefit. So again, thank you so much. And please be well, take good care, and be very, 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 very kind to yourself. Thank you. Be well, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. We got a lot coming on the summit, so get in there, and you have a couple days you have to really dive in and enjoy. So please do so. Thank you so much. And we'll see you around campus, as they say. Okay. All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. Take good care.